Welcome back, and we are now seeing what is called a triple diamond pattern, which is supposedly a very rare pattern that is appearing now on one Bitcoin mining company that is now pivoted to artificial intelligence infrastructure. And in today's video, we're going to be explaining why this stock, namely BITFARMS, will potentially be doing a 20x from here, bringing us to an $80 or $100 price. Now, again, this is just my opinion and this is just speculation. I don't know what's going to happen in the market, but in today's video, we're going to be exploring what is this triple diamond bottom. We're also going to be going through a recent presentation that's here on the screen. And by the way, I posted this on my YouTube page just the other day. It's called BITFARMS AI Powerhouse. You can watch this video that you're watching right now. We're going to be actually going through this whole presentation to show you just exactly why BITFARMS may be printing this triple diamond pattern, which is one of the most rare and seems to be extremely bullish. So in today's video, let's go through this. I really want to hear what you guys think as we're going through the video. Comment down below, and while you're down there commenting, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel and also give this video a free thumbs up. I upload every single day. We have been talking about BITFARMS since it was about 70 cents, right? The yearly range was 68 cents, and we called this. And by the way, I posted this on my YouTube community tab as well. So if you go to my channel's community tab, just click my logo down below, watch your ears for a second, click on posts, and then you just go back to 1 month ago. And you will see this post where I call the double bottom. And unfortunately, a lot of people just ignored it because BITFARMS was not really in the mainstream narrative, and now it is. But it's already moving higher. This was the double bottom. This was posted in basically the beginning to mid-August 2025, and now I'm recording this at the end of September. So a little bit over a month ago, we identified this double bottom pattern, and I posted this. It says cleanest chart I've ever seen. And sure enough, it is playing out. So let's get into it. Give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. This user on X said, this is a rare occasion where triple blue diamonds have aligned on BITFARMS. The weekly chart looks great too. Let's close above resistance. We'll be off to the races. And he's now, I mean, this is a dated tweet by the time I'm recording this, and definitely dated by the time you're watching this. But essentially this user, this analyst, believes that a $10 price for BITFARMS is in the cards. And right now we're in $2.50 range. And by the way, parabolic banana zone to the upside. You can see that right here. Over the last month, we were in the dollar range and we've already doubled from here. And this was just based on a recent presentation that the CEO of BITFARMS gave to H.C. Wainwright. And like I said, we're going to go through the entire video and presentation, and I'm going to give you guys my insight and kind of confirm or reject some of the things that he's saying here. But again, I've been saying for well over a year now on this channel, I've been highly invested in BITFARMS, and more highly invested in the direction of the company by the CEO, Ben. He's right here on the upper right of the screen, because he's he's hungry for success. And he can do things with BITFARMS a lot faster than some of the larger Bitcoin mining companies can do. And we've also predicted a lot of the things that he's going to say in this video. I've been leading up to this. So this either means that he's watching our videos or he's just on the same kind of same page when it comes to an investment opportunity and what the good things to do. Guys, this is not rocket science, right? Investing is not rocket science. But the thing that gets in the way is the emotions, right? This is why we say you have to have a plan beforehand. That way the emotional bond to your holding your favorite crypto, it's going to go up even more. You know, we have people who are already 5x on their investments in crypto, and they're like, no, we got to get 20x. And it's like that greed is what wipes a lot of people out. And so understanding the very simple things to be looking for, right? Nobody's been paying attention to BITFARMS. Meanwhile, over a year ago, Riot Platforms bought about 20% of BITFARMS stock because they wanted to acquire BITFARMS. And BITFARMS was like, no, we're not looking to get acquired. We're building out our operations. And then what happened now, just in about August, right? And this is probably part of the reason that we saw this major downtrend and double bottom here. The double bottom was because Riot Platforms has started to exit their position in BitFarms. And so how did BitFarms respond to this? Well, BitFarms not only ignored the fact that Riot's, exiting their position, which is a good thing, by the way. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But the other thing is the CEO, Ben, started buying the stock. They started a stock buyback program because this is a highly undervalued stock. Why is it highly undervalued? Well, let's go to the presentation from H.C. Wainwright. I'm just going to play this. I'm going to pause it every here and there for commentary. But this was directly presented to venture capitalists, big money, and they're all eyeing BitFarms. Let's listen in.
Really quickly, just on the Bitcoin business, like I said, we're just under 18 exahash. We've got a very efficient fleet, and this is basically, we're looking at our Bitcoin business as a very low-cost bridge finance as we develop out HPC and AI. This covers all of our business operating expenses. It contributes to CapEx and helps us to just enable us to focus entirely on HPC and AI. We have no more minor purchases planned. We have no minor growth planned. And so what we have is a stable free cash flow generating asset.
Ben, we love you, Ben. And one of the reasons that we love Ben as the CEO is because he's really smart. Either one, he's watching my videos, which may be true, but I think that he's just a really smart guy, right? Because at the end of the day, what have we been saying all cycle, since the last cycle? What happened in the last cycle around this time in the cycle, right? Towards the 18-month time frame after the Bitcoin halving? Well, all of the Bitcoin mining companies, go look up Core Scientific, they all were pre-ordering and prepaying for Bitcoin mining machines, again, at the peak of the market. And then they were getting them delivered the following year, which was a bear market. Energy costs were higher, and these machines were already outdated by that point. And so what happened? A lot of these companies, a lot of these Bitcoin mining companies, they went bankrupt, like Core Scientific. Now, we definitely got in on that trade and made a pretty decent amount of money. But the other Bitcoin mining companies are not being this clear. We are going into a bear market. I mean, this should be extremely clear. And it seems like Ben is the only Bitcoin mining and or a Bitcoin treasury company, because they do own a lot of Bitcoin as well, that understands stop buying at the top. And they've gone full into this AI pivot. And it's very smart what they're doing, because this is allowing their business to operate. This is giving them cash flow. This is giving them a business operation while they are expanding out their AI infrastructure operations. And you're going to see how extensive their AI expansion operation actually is. But it's important to understand that this is a side business for them. And in a bear market, the Bitcoin mining companies don't do that well, right? But in a bull market, they do well. So you want to be able to turn off, right? It's the same thing like with the energy for Bitcoin mining companies, right? During high stress times, the Bitcoin mining companies are asked to lower their energy usage. They shut off their machines. And then when there's excess energy, they turn them back on. So it's cheaper for them and it's better for the system. And this is the same thing that's what's going to be happening here. They're going to still run their Bitcoin mining business, but during a bear market or a downturn or a corrective phase, they could be focusing on other things that are scaling up, like AI infrastructure. Let's continue listening in.
We even put in our Q4 deck, which we published in March. We put forward our forecasts in terms of Bitcoin price, network hash rate, and what that means for network economics. And with our competitive electricity price and our competitive fleet efficiency, we believe that our Bitcoin mining business will easily free cash flow in basically any Bitcoin scenario through 2026. That's a conservative scenario in our opinion, and it's a little hard to forecast beyond 2026 in Bitcoin mining, which is why we've capped it there. But we have a very strong foundation as we build out our HPC and AI business.
And by the way, compared to even some of the Bitcoin mining companies with higher market caps than BitFarms had in the $1, $2 range, they have much lower exahash, which is power on the Bitcoin network. And we've talked about this before, right? A lot of them are promising the world, but BitFarms is there. They've executed extremely, extremely well, and it gets a lot better from here. Let's continue listening in.
Do you want to know where to invest in?
And by the way, this is playing at 1.25 speed. Let's get through this ad.
When we're focusing on the North American portfolio here, which
pay attention, guys.
Three buckets. The big area that we have is obviously Pennsylvania. Over the last few months, we've seen a lot of interest in Pennsylvania for a couple of specific reasons. One, it's very, very close to all of the major metropolitan areas on the East Coast. It's also very, very close to the deep sea fiber optic cables that go off to Europe. So this is a kind of a strategic point here around.
Now, really pay attention to this whole fiber optic thing, because he's going to get a little bit deeper into this. And this is something that's very unique to BitFarms and to these AI infrastructure plays from a valuation perspective. I mean, as you're listening to this, I want you to remember that the market cap when I'm recording at $2.50 is basically about 2 billion Canadian. So it's about 1.25, a little bit more than that, maybe about $1.35 billion US market cap, $1.3 billion market cap. I want you to keep that in mind.
Around our sites, because we've got this access to this resource here, which is what drives most of the data center construction in the past. The reason why the data center hotspot, Data Center Alley in West Virginia is there is not only because of the Defense Department, but it's because of all of this deep sea fiber optic cable that's coming in there that everyone's trying to tap into to serve a global function. In Pennsylvania, we've seen about $90 billion in commitments. Most notably, we've seen Amazon commit to $20 billion in 2 different data centers within a 45-minute drive to the north and to the northeast of our site. CoreWeave recently announced a $6 billion commitment, 30 minutes to the southwest. So our Panther Creek site is right there in the center of all the activity, and is helping being underwritten by the investment activities of all these larger players who are in the space. In Washington, we have a smaller site here, but this is the largest data center cluster on the West Coast. There's about 1 gigawatt of data centers there that support Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, and tie off on those deep sea fiber optic cables that come out of Portland and go off to Asia. In this area, we actually have some of the cheapest power for data centers in the entire country. It's the reason why that data center cluster has evolved there, but it's about $30 a megawatt hour. Most of the industry is paying closer to $100 a megawatt hour for full uptime and reliability across these areas.
So the rest of the industry, he's saying, is paying 3 times as much as BitFarms is paying, right? This is like one of these like stealth companies that have been operating like in the open, but kind of like nobody's been paying attention to what they've been doing. And this, in my view, has allowed them to really expand their energy pipeline. You could see 1 gigawatt in Pennsylvania, 18 megawatt in Washington, 170 megawatt in Quebec. And none of these other Bitcoin mining companies have pivoted like this, right? A lot of them have started to do it, but now they're starting to pivot at the end stages of the bull market, like Marathon Digital, the largest Bitcoin mining company. But it's too late, guys. Because if you haven't been doing this for over a year, you're starting now at the end of the bull cycle, at when the money is already flowing and it wants to flow to setups that have already been completed, not starting at this point. Let's continue listening.
So a very, very attractive location.
Yes.
In Quebec, Quebec is about half of the data center capacity in all of Canada. And they do that for the exact same reasons why they emerge in Washington. There's a huge amount of excess hydropower capacity, and it's very, very stable. It's very cool, and it has a great, stable regulatory environment. One of the things that I think the industry and a lot of investors don't realize is that a megawatt is not a megawatt anymore. When you look at the efficiency that you would get in an area like Texas, where you have the same building that we could deploy in Pennsylvania or in Quebec, that facility might have a much higher PUE ratio, something like a 1.4, maybe a 1.5 on the higher end. You take that same building and you put it in Pennsylvania and Quebec, and you're going to be looking at a 1.2 to 1.3. So that means for every megawatt that we have, we're able to do more with it, and we're able to earn more with it. So it's a very, very strategic position that we have there on our sites.
Sounds good to me.
Support for data center development in Pennsylvania, I think, really can't be understated.
Yep.
From the mayor to the White House,
Yep.
their support for this project.
Yep.
We have a couple of different people coming in here. This is Senator Argyle. This is Representative Heffley. And obviously this is Trump with Governor Shapiro and Senator McCormick, who at their Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit. Appalachia is one of the most economically depressed areas of the United States. All of this energy, all this industry, which powered the steel, which powered the Industrial Revolution, which built the battleships, which beat the Germans in World War II. This all came from Pennsylvania. But over time, that industrial capacity kind of left, but the energy capacity remained. The energy resources remain. And in a lot of these areas, they've never seen investment like these kind of HPC data center projects are bringing into these areas. So on the county level, our investments in a $4 billion data center project are transformative for the tax revenues. They're transformative for the school systems, for the healthcare systems, for the job opportunities. This has broad political support, and it goes all the way from the most local grassroots level all the way up to the most senior person in the country.
And one of the things that I would like to see BitFarms doing to kind of differentiate themselves, I don't know that it would really matter because they're kind of very high level infrastructure play. But I do think that they should go a little bit deeper into the impact on the communities, right? Maybe going into the communities and talking to the people and, talking about what kind of jobs they're going to create. What's the pay grade for those jobs? What is the career advancement for those jobs? The expansion for those jobs, right? Because when a lot of people think about data centers, they're like, oh, you're going to have 3 people working there. And what about the rest of our town, which has thousands and thousands of people? And so I do think that these companies do need to think about this because guys, around the country, there is a lot of not happy residents from data centers, Bitcoin mining companies moving in because they feel like they're not, oh, yeah, they're going to hire 3 people and they're going to make us, pay more for energy. And it is happening around the country like that. And so these companies really need to think about this, so that they are not having the local people against them because that is not good for business and it's really not good for sustainability either. But like I said, I don't know if these companies really care that much about that, but I think that it could differentiate BitFarms if they do have community support for their operations and their jobs and stuff like that. Let's continue listening.
So it's water, coal, what's powering all this Pennsylvania?
They asked, what's powering everything in Pennsylvania? That was the question.
Coal, natural gas, nuclear. They have a very, very diversified grid out there in PJM. PJM is actually the largest wholesale electricity market in the United States. So any kind of energy source you can think of, it's on that network. Here's our Panther Creek site. We've outlined here is a render from the master site plan, which was recently completed a few months ago. What you see here are 4 75 megawatt buildings targeting 350. There's space for a 5th building kind of over in this area, which is not included here. And this is going to be the focus of our development here. We've recently received the ESAs, which confirm the delivery and the power availability for the 50 and the 300 megawatts to expand the site. And we also just secured the land necessary to develop this entire footprint over here. Really, what we're focusing on right now is the remaining additional permits, securing some long lead time items, which we're waiting to do until we've dropped the Macquarie facility down to the project level to finance. And we are on schedule to break ground in the back half of Q4 2025 on schedule. Washington is also a really interesting area. We'll see here is the gigawatt cluster that I mentioned, Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and the fiber optic cables, which go off to Asia. These are mostly to Canada and Alaska. And this is where our site is right here. The demand for this area is incredibly high, but not amongst hyperscalers, amongst enterprise customers. So these are large enterprises, investment-grade counterparties that are not data center companies, but have data center needs. Companies like Exxon, JP Morgan, Disney, those kind of companies who need compute for their own internal purposes, and they want size, scale, and security by taking over an entire site. Those customers would never have the demand for 350 megawatts in Pennsylvania, but they're fantastic counterparties that often have higher margins associated with them because this is not their core business. So this area is very...
Basically, he's saying these companies hire out so that they don't have to do it. And this is really important to understand about the AI sector, right? A lot of these companies, they're AI software developers, right? They're software development firms like OpenAI, xAI, Google, Gemini. These are software, right? They're large language models. But they're typically not building the infrastructure, the servers, the data centers for all of this. And this is why you're seeing a lot of these companies pivoting to AI and building out their facilities for AI compute because they see this as a great opportunity. Now, this may change in the future where these companies start building their own data centers for this. But right now, there's not enough energy or facilities built out for that. And so they have to go to these third parties. And this is why we're also seeing AI infrastructure companies being bought up. Like TeraWulf just got a 15% allocation of their stock is bought by Google. And Google is using their infrastructure for their AI needs. And you're going to see a lot more of that. And this is one of the things that I'm looking at BitFarms. I don't know whether they're going to sell or get offered or something like that. But the big thing for these AI companies right now is these large long-term deals with these large conglomerates like TeraWulf did with Google. And if they can get this implemented, this is really what's going to drive the valuation up fairly substantially, I would imagine. And I'd imagine this is also why we're starting to see this. I mean, obviously we had the double bottom here, but also the chart is moving straight up, right? We're in banana zone territory. And this is because, these large firms or investors, they're probably sending their teams of analysts and researchers to go look at BitFarms and say, is this a good investment or not? And they're also looking at the price and the valuation and saying, well, NVIDIA is $4 trillion, right? These AI plays are all gaining significant market cap and at a very rapid pace, right? Think about the Bitcoin ecosystem. These companies like MicroStrategy and Nakamoto and all this, they're selling shares in the market to raise money to go buy Bitcoin at all-time record highs. That's not sustainable. And these other companies, they're utilizing their infrastructure to build out AI capabilities, right? And so the valuations are disconnected because they're still being valued as Bitcoin mining companies. Once you value it as an AI company, we're talking about tens or hundreds of billions of dollars worth of valuation. And so the fact that BitFarms is $1 or $2 billion in value currently, I mean, even if you think it should be $10 price, right? A $10 price would be about 8 billion Canadian or about 5 billion US, which means you have to get to $20 to get to $10 billion valuation. That's almost a 10x from here, just to get to a $10 billion valuation. If it goes 20 billion, that's a $40 price. If it goes to 30 billion, that's a $60 price, and that would be a 30x. And so I'm not saying it's going to occur, right? Because I don't know. Obviously, I would like to see that. But I don't know that it's going to occur, that we're going to see $60, right? But the revaluation is happening. It's underway right now. And by the way, it gets better. There's more. Let's continue listening in. It's just about another 1 minute left. I have this playing a little bit faster than 1x speed, so it's about a minute left in this. And this is probably the most important part of the video, is the end of what his discussion is. Let's listen in.
Very, very strategic for us. We believe that we have potentially a much faster pathway here to HPC revenues in Washington than a lot of our other sites, which is why we're focusing a lot of our development on Washington as well, even though it's a smaller site. The CapEx requirements are lower, the timelines are faster, and I say stay tuned for updates on Washington, because we will have some exciting news on Washington in the months to come.
Whoa, announcement of an announcement. There are definitely things in the pipeline, guys. 100%. And if there weren't before this presentation, there are now. I don't know why it took this presentation for people to wake up to what BitFarms is doing, because we've been talking about it for a year on this channel. This is why it's so important that you guys give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe. That way you never miss any of the new content that we put out. We put out videos every single day. And so they're making an announcement, right? Which tells me they probably are going to have they have something lined up and ready to go. It's just not fully baked yet. And so it took this presentation and by the way, there's more. We're going to get to it in a second. But it took this presentation for people to wake up. And now the investors are starting to say, how do we miss this? Well, the big part of why people missed it is potentially because BitFarms is still a Canadian-based firm, Canadian-based organization. But Ben's about to lay out what is about to change. And this could change everything for BitFarms. Let's listen in.
To support all of this, we are facilitating our US pivot. And we've just recently set up our second principal executive office in New York, so we have an office up here on Madison Ave. We're on schedule to complete our US GAAP conversion for Q4 filing, and that puts us in place to do a redomicile next year.
Pay attention.
And hopefully get included for index inclusion with Russell and everything else around the June 30th cutoff date.
Now, you guys know how I felt about MicroStrategy, right? And getting included in the S&P 500 and all that. I think BitFarms, they actually have a business, right? So it's more likely that they would get included in one of the stock indices. But the other thing is their pivot to the US. they need to be US based, right? I'm not saying anything's wrong with Canada, but the money is going to flow into US based businesses, and to get access to the liquidity that's going to be unleashed by the US, by the government, by the US based companies, they're all going to be really focused, especially with this administration, US. And so we've started to see this. I've been talking about on the channel for well over a year that they need to get into the US. And it seems like that's exactly what they're doing. And they're going to be fully US based by middle of next year. That seems to be what the timeline that he just said was. Let's continue listening.
We have transitioned very, very quickly from the international Bitcoin miner that we were to the US focused company that we are today. When I took over the business, we were on schedule to be 55% in Latin America and 45% in North America, with only 5% in the United States. We are now 82% in North America. And we have a growth pipeline that is almost exclusively in the United States. So we have a pathway to go well over 80% of our assets in the United States, still maintaining our Canadian footprint that we have, and scaling down as we scale down the LATAM presence.
And so the point here is, number one, I think Ben is doing a great job, right? Because we haven't really heard from BitFarms too much over the last year, but this is what they've been building. And that's what we really, really want to look for, right? All these other companies are like, oh, well, this Bitcoin miner is going to be the best. We're going to have a secret partnership that's going to be launched. And they're just pumping these stocks, right? And we see this happening throughout the industry. But are they really building, or is this pump and dump, right? Because we've seen this happening cycle after cycle after cycle, where these influencers pump up these stocks or these cryptos, and then they end up doing nothing and go to zero or close to that. Meanwhile, BitFarms has been trailing the bottom of the market, while all these other Bitcoin mining companies and promising they're pivoting and all of this. Do they have the infrastructure? They could say whatever they want. Do they have the infrastructure to back it? And it seems like BitFarms is the only one that actually does. So we have a double bottom, a triple blue diamond pattern posting up. And by the way, what is a triple blue diamond pattern? Well, the diamond bottom is the bullish mirror image of a diamond top. It usually appears after extended downtrends and signals accumulation before reversal. And that seems to be what we have. Let me know what you think about BitFarms. Let me know how long you've been following BitFarms on this channel, and make sure you guys are subscribed. I'll see you on the next video. Invest responsibly, do your own research, and crypto on.